Muted. Muted.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, guys. Sorry about that. We have some GoToWebinar issues there. So we'll start over. Okay. So my name's Alyssa Gagan. If you didn't hear me before, I'm the marketing manager at Latista, and we want to thank you all for your patience during our technical difficulties and for attending today's webinar. We're really excited to give you an overview of a lot of the factors that make up a safety management program and some of the issues that general contractors and owners run into when it comes to fees and violations, on-site injuries, and much more. So a little later in the broadcast, we're excited for you to hear our guest speaker, Peter Uxtons, who is the Director of Integrated Construction at James G. Davis Construction. And Peter's an expert when it comes to this stuff, so I think you guys are really going to get a lot of value from getting a glimpse into how Davis handles their safety process in the field. So without further ado, I'd like you all to meet my colleague, Kevin McCluskey, who's the Director of Client Services here at Latista, and he's going to tell us a little bit about safety, why you need a safety program, and then we're going to go into Peter for our subject matter expert opinion. So, Kevin?
Great.
Welcome.
Great. Thanks, Alyssa, and thanks everybody for joining. Again, to extend Alyssa's apologies for the technical difficulties there. But let's get rolling here. So, reasons for safety program. Again, I'm probably telling you guys nothing that you don't already know, right? As far as safety is concerned, it's not an option in today's world, right? You have to have safety on every job, every project. What we're going to focus on as far as the little bit of the devil in the details around that are these three main areas: injuries and fatalities, financial impact, and reputation. So let's face it, you guys work in an inherently dangerous profession, right? Statistically, in 2014, the construction industry accounted for 1/5, about 20%, of all workplace fatalities, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So this, not to mention that 1 in 10 construction workers are injured every year. So if you think about that in real terms, right, that's 10% of your folks each year, not a trivial number. Clearly, your people are your most valuable asset, and their safety has to be your #1 priority. If you look at this chart, it's interesting from a cost perspective. It's the old tip of the iceberg picture, which is direct costs are certainly what we know and what you're immediately aware of, but it's the indirect that really gets you, right? Lost productivity, hiring, training, and all the rest. Fees and costs, as we've discussed a little bit here, can really hit you from several angles when it comes to safety. Again, in terms of putting it in real terms, if you have a $10,000 in direct costs and fines, let's say, and insurance, you're going to incur roughly $40,000 in indirect costs. And to recoup those dollars, you're going to need about $500,000 in revenue to make that up. This is where the dollars add, right? And when it comes to regulatory bodies like OSHA, you could be dealing with minor fines for things like fall protection or scaffolding, up to willful violations that can be extremely large. In fact, OSHA is increasing their fees for 2016, almost doubling them in some cases. Legal fees as well, right? We can all joke about lawyers, but I suspect most of you on the phone either have in-house counsel or have a law firm on retainer to deal with legal fees or pay for legal fees and deal with the associated issues that come from that. Workers' comp as well. So the insurance industry uses the experience modification rate, right? The EMR that you guys may well be familiar with. It's a number used by the insurance companies to gauge both past costs of injuries and the future chance of risk. So the lower your EMR, the better off you are, right? The lower your workers' comp insurance premiums will be. Again, the bottom line is this, guys, right? Safety-related costs can be a killer to your business. At the end of the day, guys, we're talking about your reputation, right? And reputations are everything, right? And they're funny things, right? Good news travels fast and bad news travels faster is the expression. And bad reputations, unfortunately, last longer on the shelves than good ones do, right? So if your reputation's tarnished through something safety-related, it's hard to get it back in the green. I don't mean to present this as just a negative and avoiding the negative when it comes to safety, because there's benefits to a high safety rating as well, right? The quality of workers you can attract, employee retention, the morale of your employees, and bids, right? The potential of winning bids. Safety can be a differentiator for you out in the marketplace. So again, reiterating the theme, safety is not an option anymore. But we still miss the mark when it comes to safety in some cases, right? So how can technology help us with these problems? I'm going to focus on 3 areas where technology can assist you. Obviously, there's probably many, many more, but 4 of the main ones, and we'll drill into these a bit more as we go through the presentation. 1, facilitating communication. So think access to data anytime, anywhere. Consistent data. And here, think input data and output data. We'll talk more about that as we go deeper here. Also, identifying high-risk workers. And on the flip side, your top performers, right? Who has really great safety records out there that you might want to leverage. And management visibility to enable better strategic decision-making.
All right, so at this point in the webinar, we want to welcome Peter Uxton. Peter, are you on the line? Peter?
About now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we got you.
Okay. Good morning. Sorry for that. I'm clicking too many buttons.
Yeah, you want to introduce yourself really quick? All right, everyone. Well, Peter comes. He's one of our beloved Latista clients, and he comes to us from, as I mentioned before, from James G. Davis Construction, and he's the Director of Integrated Construction, and he works directly with the operations staff to help develop, educate, and promote the use of different types of advanced construction techniques, methods, different tools, and strategic planning. So Peter's going to give us an inside look into the Davis safety flow and some of their processes and workflow, and kind of how they're leading the game when it comes to safety. So Peter, go ahead. It's all yours.
Sure. So good morning to everyone. I think it's still good morning no matter what coast you're on. So just a quick introduction to our company. Davis Construction is based in Washington, D.C. We, for this year, are forecasting over $900 million in construction across 10 market sectors in the Washington, D.C. area. We have been an enterprise user with Latista since 2005, but as I may talk about it through the presentation, the true adoption and further adoption with the company really didn't take off until about 2011 when the iPad app came out. So it was the mobile device and the mobile technology that really helped us gain some traction here. The next slide, I'd like to share some stats from Davis and kind of give everyone a little bit of insight. So out of our market sectors, we find that residential and the office building market sector are really the big users of Latista. Part of that has to do with the percentage of work that we see in those market sectors. Also, it has to do with the size of the team in those market sectors. But really, that's where the greatest need is. We still have a lot of fast-paced work. We have a lot of safety issues to identify in those two market sectors. So those are our big power users. As just a snapshot between 2014 and 2015, you can see that we do implement Latista on all of our projects for safety. You can see a little bit of the adoption for the QAQC and punch list, but overall, from the last 2 years, we've seen a good 50% increase with both the documentation and management of safety issues, as well as the other modules issues. And there could be many reasons for that increase, but one of them is just the ease of use that Latista allows us to enter issues and manage issues in the platform. So enough about us. Let me talk a little bit about the process. So how do we manage safety? So the inspections are conducted in the field by either a group of safety managers or project team members. We use two different templates, if you will, which identify different inspection criteria. The first, with project team inspections, it's a checklist. I think I lost. There we go. It's a checklist-based inspection, which helps the project team identify and focus on certain areas of safety. When the safety managers do their inspections, they're a little better trained. They know what they're looking for, and they simply manage and identify issues. So actually, if you go back one slide.
Yeah, sure.
And so what happens when the inspection is conducted, we send out reports within the hour. So as new issues are synced to the cloud, we have the system send out automatic notifications to the responsible party, to our trade, every hour. And we have it set up this way because safety is important, and we want to get the notices out the door as soon as we can. And we'll talk a little bit about what that report shows. So, okay, sorry. Go ahead to the next slide there. So this is our kind of our map. I think you skip one more back. It's like it's got a mind of its own this morning. So this is just a quick map of how we've set up our issues and how we manage the workflow. I won't go into the full details, but we have two issues. They're safety issues and they're complements. We find that it's important to focus also on the positive side of safety and to identify the job well done and the complements when people are doing things properly. So with the workflow of a safety issue, we give the superintendents full authority to close out issues, and that's represented by the first yellow circle on the left. But then we require our safety managers to acknowledge and confirm that that issue was completed and addressed properly. So our safety managers then receive notice, and they have to either accept that issue as addressed or reject it and talk further with the superintendent about the right way to close out that safety issue. So this works for us. You may or may not have a different workflow. You might have different folks involved, but Latista can certainly help you out with identifying and creating that workflow. Okay. So now I'll kind of share you a little bit about the checklist. So this is just an example of what our safety manager inspection looks like. This is the report that goes to the entire project team. Once the safety manager inspection is complete, the entire project team gets a notice and then can download this report. They can also access the system with their logins and go in, but a lot of the field supervision still tend to rely on that paper piece. And then separate emails go out to the individual trades, alerting them that new issues were found. We advance to the next one. So I mentioned a little bit that the project team has a checklist. So we know you can't read this on the slide, but you can see that there's a lot of text, there's a lot of items in here that allows the project team to focus on specific areas, whether it's fire protection, fall protection, administrative items, electrical. But when they're walking around doing their inspection, we want them to look at certain things that may or may not be issues, but it gets them trained to focus in certain areas of the job. We require them to do this 4 times a month, and the safety manager is then notified when this inspection is completed so they can go in and access the issues and make sure that the team is identifying the right stuff and work closely with the team to manage those issues. Excuse me. All right, so the next inspection that we use Latista for is suspension and removal. So Davis works on a 3-strike rule, with the initial strike being an orientation to the job site, but really it's 3 strikes and you're removed from the job. That's our corporate policy, but Latista allows us to implement this 3-strike rule. It allows us to document the severity of violations and allows us to photograph when these 3 strikes were used. We still have a paper log that's maintained in the trailer, so it's accessible by anyone at any time. But we use this then to notify both the subcontractor's office and also the project team on the severity of whether it was a suspension for a period of time or if it was an expulsion from the project for the remainder of the project. So that's kind of just a quick overview of how we do our business with Latista and manage safety issues.
Okay, great. So Kevin, how does Latista, how can it enhance our listeners' current safety process?
Yeah, sure. So thanks, Peter, for that, by the way. I think the real life examples speak louder than any technology can or what I can talk about, but I'll do my best here. So, but from my perspective, technology is not here to modify or create safety programs like Peter's describing there, right? The technology should enhance your existing processes and make them easier or more efficient, right? And the areas where technology can help the most are areas like communication, visibility, and data, all of which can help drive your reputation. So let's break these down a little bit more. So communication, right? You can't be everywhere at once, but if you have a tablet, an iPhone, or your laptop in the trailer, you now have access to your project safety information through Latista. You can initiate safety issues wherever you are, including areas on the job site that do not have internet connectivity, for example, right? We can use Latista offline if necessary, wherever you happen to be. And you saw through Peter's examples his use of notifications, right? If you have a sub who's been cited with a safety issue or maybe a job well done that you want to communicate to them, they'll receive an automated notification of this, right? You don't have to track them down. You don't have to send them an email. The system does all that for you. Another aspect is history. So, we mentioned earlier in the presentation the unfortunate litigious nature of our society, right, and associated legal fees. A key means of avoiding this in our industry is historical records, right? Having that proof of all the actions that you've taken, photographic evidence, and historical information on who did what and when. Then data, right? When it comes to data, consistency and ease of use are key concepts for us. So let's say you have to do your daily safety report. Wouldn't it be great if the repeatable fields didn't need to be entered each and every time, right? What if we could pre-populate that? So in Latista, you can do that. Job numbers, project names, locations, whatever it happens to be. These are things that can be pre-populated in your online form, so you don't have to enter them each and every time. And how about data formats? So consistent terminology. And if you see in the picture here, the weather terms is a good example, right? As a safety manager, it's easier to just click from a drop down than to enter in clear day or cloudy day every single time you're running this or entering your information. The flip side is, when I run my summary reports as a safety manager, I know I've got consistent data outputs because the data I input was consistent. So this is a huge benefit to ensure your metrics are accurate. We apply the same concept to issue definitions, right? So within Latista, you can enter descriptions freehand, right, as to what a violation might be, for example. But we can also define what we call standard issues. And this allows you that same kind of process, right? I can pick from a drop-down what the definition is to ensure there's consistency in what things are called. So safety glasses must be worn, for example. If I can make that consistent each and every time there's a safety glasses violation, again, my input's consistent and my output's consistent. Photographic evidence as well, right? Within Latista, not only can you tie photos to a given issue or violation, but you can also know the compass direction and GPS coordinates of where that photo was taken on the job site. Lastly, barcodes and QR codes, right? This can be used in many ways, but in a safety scenario, maybe it's tagging the room with a barcode, right? So, and on the entryway of a room, you slap a barcode, and now when you enter that room, you're scanning the barcode, the system will automatically know where you are without having to enter any information freehand. So lastly, visibility, right? So all the data in the world is meaningless if you can't access it in a meaningful way, right? Turn data into information, essentially. So Latista includes a full reporting engine that can be used to report on any of the data in the system. This can take the form of canned reports. We have issue trend reports, inspection trend reports, numerous others. But if those standard reports aren't giving you what you need, there's also detailed analysis reports where you can create essentially your own reports based on the data that you want to pull out of the system. You can even create dashboards off of that information. So basically what we're really trying to provide here are tools that allow you to easily turn data into usable and meaningful information, not just for yourself, but for your management and really anyone else who needs access to that.
Okay, so knowing what you just heard from Kevin from an inside point of view, and then from Peter from an actual safety point of view, before you're on your next project, there are some things you should think about. Think about technology and how much easier a technology source could make your process more organized. It can prevent your costly fees and violations. We discussed indirect and direct costs, and remember that these indirect costs can add up, and they might not affect you directly at the time, but when they add up, they can play a major role in your ROI on these specific jobs. So you want to make sure you pay attention to those and follow those closely. It creates accountability amongst the rest of your team, and it also allows you, a technology solution allows you to be more transparent with the other people in your organization, especially upper management. They'll have access with something like Latista, they'll have instant access to this information, and automatically you can run daily, they have access to reporting, you can run summary reviews, different types of reports, things that they are gonna wanna see at the end of the day, and it's all right there at their fingertips. So a technology solution is definitely something that can really change the way that your business looks at safety. So right now, we want to open everything up to some question and answer. I have a bunch of questions coming in. So one question that a few people have asked, yes, this webinar will be recorded and available. We will send it via email before the end of the week. So we are recording this. We'll upload it to YouTube and send the video to all of you so you can show it to the rest of your team. All right, so feel free to enter your questions into the question and answer section on the GoToWebinar. The first question we have is, so somebody asked, they have specific safety forms, which we run into here, but they have specific forms that they have to use for their safety process. So how can a software or solution like Latista or something else, some sort of technological solution, support a business that already has specific forms they need to use?
Sure. So, yeah, I think this is one of the differentiators of Latista, frankly. We hear this quite a bit. So everyone has their own forms for safety inspections, safety checklists, whatever the case may be, even outside of the safety realm for that matter. So within Latista, the great thing we can do is literally input your forms into our system and create essentially smart forms. And you may recall I mentioned pre-population of data, for example. So not only can your folks in the field look on their iPad, for example, and see the exact same form that they would be doing in pencil and paper, they can have some of that data pre-populated for them to really expedite the process, right, of getting that information filled out and just make their lives easier out in the field. But you know, the fact that the forms look the same is certainly something I hear time and time again. They look the same online or through their iPad as they do on paper is a big thing as far as getting people comfortable with the solution and using technology to its best abilities. Okay,
great. All right, so kind of to piggyback on the forms topic, somebody asked the question, they want to know what kind of data or how the data is reported within something like Latista. What are some of the other reports that some of the people who are using the software are running, and then our customers are running? What are the big important reports?
Right. So on the data side, the data can really be based on what is important to you, right? So we can report on any of the data that you enter into our system. We have standard fields as far as issues are concerned. If you're entering issues, and you know, those are the basics, description and date and all that kind of stuff. But really, you can create custom fields in addition to that, and again, it boils down to what's most important to you. As far as the reports, yeah, we've got over 20, I'll call them canned reports out of the box, really, that relate to inspections, issues, trending, etc. Our analytics engine allows you to be more creative with what works best for you, right? Really create reports that matter to you and pull data that matters to you. So, you know, I hesitate to say the sky's the limit, but there's certainly very few things that we hear that can't be created through reports that you may need information on.
Okay, great.
Can I interject on that question too? So from the Davis point of view, you know, as Kevin was saying, all the data ends up into a bucket that can be sorted and pulled and reported on. And what Davis tends to do is we like to identify by the responsible party. We like to identify the subcontractor with the types of issues, the number of issues, and we actually use that to look into their performance and how they're doing on multiple jobs. And do we tie that into our pre-qualification process? Do we want them on our projects, you know, based on historic performance? So that's something that Davis tries to use to make sure that we get the right people on the right projects.
Great, thanks, Peter.
Great, yeah, thank you. All right, another question we have, do owners, and Peter, feel free to chime in on this, but for both of you, do owners have access to the information within something like Latista?
Sure. So, Peter, I'll start if you want to add on. So the answer to the question is yes, if you want them to. So we have a roles and permissions model within Latista that allows you to really at a pretty granular level define who has access to what, right? And that could be owners, that could be subs, that could be really anyone on the project team. We certainly have the facility to allow anyone to access Latista, of course, because as a sub, for example, they need to address safety issues that are assigned to them. As an owner, you may want to allow access to particular areas of the system and maybe not other areas. That's totally up to you and all based on how we set up the project from the get-go. But essentially, we can define it to your needs.
Davis actually has many projects that have architects and engineers adding issues and doing field reports directly into Latista. And as Kevin stated, we can manage that role internally to identify what they see, what they don't see. Maybe the project wants them to see everything and have access to everything. Maybe there's some projects that still haven't understood the benefit of transparency and wants to limit that, and we're able to do that as well.
Great. All right, so we have a question kind of on the data topic. If somebody has a concern over the data and whether it's going to be accessed, it can be accessed publicly or privately, how does that work?
Right. So kind of tying into the discussion that Peter and I were just mentioning, right? So the data certainly is private, right? There is not external access to Latista. The definition of who has access is really defined by you, right? As the owner of the program, you can define who has access to what, and again, to the level of granularity that you want to define through our permissions and roles. We can refine that to areas of the system, to what they're able to do in the system. It can really drill down to a very, very granular level in terms of what they have access to, but certainly not publicly accessible.
Great. Okay. All right. Next question. How long does it? All right. So how long does it take to set up something like a safety program within Latista?
Right. Right. So
average time.
Sure. Yeah, and obviously it can vary depending on what you're trying to achieve. But I'll say this: most of our, I hesitate to call them implementations, it's really more of a setup process. It averages somewhere in the 2 to 3 week range. And frankly, it could be done in a matter of days if you like. I mean, here's the net with Latista. We can get someone up and running very, very quickly. You know, we need to get your contacts in, right? All of the folks who are involved in your project, for example, subs and responsible parties, et cetera. And we need to set up some basic structures, right? We call it an area tree, but really a logical structure to your project. Those basic kind of concepts in addition to some other minor things. But really, once you have that structure set up, you can immediately start using the system, especially for something like safety. Now, you may want to build out configurations and workflows and really build out the solution to use it to whatever extent you like. But as far as using it and deriving immediate benefit, that could literally be days if you wanted it to. But the average is 2 to 3 weeks, I would say.
Okay, great. All right, so just before one more question just came in, and before I go to that, I just want you all, I changed the slide. If you're interested in finding out more about Latista, we have a special promotion going on for our safety professionals that's running through the end of March. So go ahead and visit the link on the screen, latista.com, our website /request-demo, and fill out the form, and we'll give you a call and show you the software and see how it can fit your needs. So, all right, so keep sending in your questions, but the last one we just got was, can you incorporate your safety approval process into Latista? Yes is the simple answer. I'll stop there. No, yeah, Latista has a workflow that you can incorporate for things like safety approval. So if you have an inspection process, safety inspection process, for example, you can set up a workflow that allows it to go to, person number 1, and once they approve it, it goes to person number 2, and, daisy chains from there on down the line. The workflow, again, is configurable. So whatever process you have is what we will manipulate Latista to meet, and it's designed exactly to meet your processes. All right, great. All right, well, that looks like we answered all the questions that we have. So if you guys have any more additional questions, feel free to fill out the forms, send an email to info@latista.com. We can answer your questions there if you're interested in finding out more about our software. This will be published online, and we will send everybody the email with the video to the webinar, so you can show it to the rest of your team. And then just to remind you about the special promotion we have going on for safety professionals, go ahead and fill out the request a demo, and we'll tell you some more about that. So I want to thank Peter and Kevin for joining us, and it was a very successful safety webinar. And again, I'm sorry about the audio troubles, and we hope everyone has a great day. Thanks for attending.